And guys, 7.6. Alright, now we're going to work with quadratic functions, okay? So this is called standard form, so what we're going to use. Alright, the goal here is to analyze these quadratic functions, to draw these graphs when they're in this form, right? X squared plus bx plus c, and then find the extrema, okay, the maximum or minimums. Extrema just means maximum or minimum. Okay, so we have this quadratic function. This is the new way we're going to write this, not vertex form anymore. Okay, so first we need the axis of symmetry. Okay, so to get the axis of symmetry, remember it was really easy last time because we were basically given the vertex. Now we have to calculate what the vertex is by first finding the x value of that, the axis of symmetry. The way you find that is by calculating negative b over 2a. Okay, so that's really important. And then once we get that, then we're going to plug that in for x, right, and solve for y to get the full vertex. Okay. So that step is difficult, finding the vertex. Right, the working with a is the exact same as it was for last time. Right, if it's bigger than 0, it gets skinnier, vertical stretch. If it's a fraction or a decimal, if it's smaller than 1, then it's going to get fatter and be a vertical shrink. And if a is negative, then the whole thing will flip upside down. Okay. And lastly, the y-intercept is just at c. All right, because if you plug in 0 for x to find the y-intercept, all those x's zero out, and you're just left with c. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and graph these right away. Alright, so imagine what the y equals x squared graph looks like as you go through and graph these. Hopefully you can find some patterns when you're trying to compare them. If you need to see that again, go to the beginning of the 7.5 video. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to find the vertex. First thing to do that, alright, we need to find the axis. Alright, the axis of symmetry. So the axis, is x equals negative b over 2 times a, which is 6. So the axis of symmetry is just x equals 2. So that tells me that our dotted line here, that vertical line, is at x equals 2. That's kind of straight, not really. Just do the best you can with it. Alright, so that tells me that our graph is going to be symmetric about that. So if you fold that in half, right, our graph should touch right on itself. Right, now in order to find the vertex, right, I know the x value is 2 because it's the axis. Now the y value, I just plug in 2 for x and solve for y. So plug in 2 for x and we're going to get 12 minus 24 is negative 12 plus 7 is negative 5. So that tells me our vertex is at negative 5. Now get our table ready to go to negative 5. I'm going to need to find 3 and 4 and 1 and 0. Okay, in order to get this graph. Now, is it a maximum or minimum? Look at A. It's positive, so it's going to be a minimum, right? You're opening upwards. It's just the y value of this. The minimum is negative 5. The range is going to be negative 5 to infinity. The main is all reals. And the zeros, right? You see you're just going to set y equal to 0 in order to do that. And if you can factor it, great. If you can't, then you need to complete the square. Or you need to use the quadratic formula or whatever. Okay? So for this one, it's not going to factor, unfortunately, so we need to use the quadratic formula. Okay, so x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So get x equals 12 plus or minus 144 minus 84 is 60, which reduces to 2 root 15 over 6. So we've got x equals 6 plus or minus root 15 over 3. Okay, so those are your two answers, 6 plus or minus root 15 over 3. All right, and now to graph this, we're going to plug in each of our x values in our table, find our y values, and we should be good to go. So plug in 0 is real easy, right? When you plug in 0, you're going to be up at 7. Sorry, 7's right there. Okay, 0 is at 7, and it's going to be the same for 4. Now to find 1 and 3, plug in 1, and we've got 3 minus 12 is negative 9, plus 2 is negative 2. So there we are, it's on both sides. See how skinny it is? we should be good to go. All right, second one. Okay, this one's just written in reverse order, so if you need to rewrite this as y equals negative x squared plus 4x plus 3, it's totally fine. So you can see exactly what your a is. All right, find the vertex. In order to do that, we got to find the axis of symmetry first. Negative b over 2a. It's 2 again. Okay, remember that it's negative a is negative 1, so that's why I got the negative 2 down there. Okay, so that's 2. Vertex right there, there's the axis. Now in order to find the vertex, got to plug that in. So we've got negative 4, right? You square it first, then do the negative. Square the 2 first to get 4, then it's negative that. So negative 4 plus 8 is 4, plus 3 is 7. Okay, we have a maximum because a is negative. That's at 7. The range, negative infinity up to 7, inclusive. Domains all reals. The zeros, see if you can factor that. When you cannot factor that, unfortunately, because they're both going to turn negative. So you got to use the quadratic formula once again. Okay, so we've got x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus, let's see, we got 16 plus 12 is 28, which reduces to 2 root 7 all over negative 2. We can reduce this fraction because the plus or minus is the case. You can take the negative out of everything else because it's just going to change to minus plus, which wouldn't make any difference to us at all. So we've got 2 plus or minus root 7. Okay, you can take a negative 2 out of everything. Okay, so those are your zeros. 2 plus or minus root 7. Now to graph this, we've got to make our table. All right, so we're making our table here. We got to go around 2, 7. So we got 3, 4, 1, 0. All right, 0 is really easy. You plug in 0 for everything, you're going to get 3. I got to make sure I get 2, 7 in here. Zero, 3. It's going to be the same over at 4. All right, the 1, plug in 1 for x, and you're going to get negative 1 plus 4 is 3, plus 3 is 6. So 1 and 3, they're both there. All right, this one you see is less skinny than the last one. And that's your graph. Now, last one we're going to graph right here. We've got, it's all set up for us pretty simply. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to find the vertex right away. So we've got x equals negative b over 2a. So it's negative 1 this time. All right, that's your axis of symmetry, or your x value of your vertex. Got to get the y value by plugging it in. Plug in negative 1 for x, and you're going to get 3 minus 6 is negative 3, plus 7 is 4. So it gives us our point. Get the table going. Negative 1, 4 is going to be my midpoint. Right, this one's going to be a minimum because a is positive. The minimum is at 4. The range then is 4 to infinity. Domain is all reals. And the zeros, right, you always got to check to see if you can factor this. Make sure you can't. You cannot. So we go to the quadratic formula. We've got x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. X equals negative 6 plus or minus 36 minus a bunch of things. Let's see, 36 minus 84 is going to put us at, oh gosh, it's a negative number for sure, 52, 2i root 13, all over 6. All right, take the 2 out, got negative 3 plus or minus I root 13 over 3. Okay, so those are the zeros. Notice that they're imaginary zeros. What does that mean? Well, what it actually means is it's actually never going to cross the x-axis. Okay, so notice here that I start above the x-axis and I have a minimum. So it's going to go up to infinity. So you're never going to actually cross the x-axis. The zeros are imaginary. Okay, now to finish graphing this, we got to go up 2, down 2. The 0 is really easy. It's 7. So 7, 7. And the 1, we're going to have 3 plus 6 is 9. Plus 7 is going to go off the chart to 16. Right? And you go up really skinny like that. Okay, so notice that it never crosses the x-axis. Alright, this one, we're not going to graph it, but I just want to show you that sometimes for the zeros you are able to factor it. So I want to make sure you're able to do that. Alright, so we're just going to find all this stuff. The vertex, we're going to find the same way. Find the axis symmetry, negative b over 2a, which is 3. Right, in order to finish the vertex, plug that in for x and find y. So I've got 18 minus, let's see, 3 squared is 9, 18 minus 36 is negative 18. Right, so I've got a minimum because a is positive at negative 18. Range is going to go on from negative 18 to infinity. Domain's all reals. Now the zeros, okay, you want to set this just equal to 0. And first you want to try to factor it. We can factor this, luckily. Take a 2x out. That's with x minus 6. Right, so when you set both equal to 0, you're just going to get x equals 0 or x equals 6. Those are the two answers, 0, 6. Okay, so just want to show you, you definitely always want to factor first if you can. Alright, now these are going to be like bonus problems, okay? If you need to convert these into vertex form, alright, what you're going to do is you're going to, basically, you need to complete the square in order to do so, okay? So I need to first plug in y for g of x. Okay, now, we're going to move the 7 over, and then we need to complete the square and factor out the 3. So we got y minus 7 equals 3 times x squared minus 4x. Okay, now here's where we complete the square. Alright, so in order to complete the square, alright, I'm going to complete the square on the inside here, but remember that when I added both sides, I have to distribute in the 3. Okay, so I just complete the square right here, divide by 2 and square it. Divide negative 4 by 2 is negative 2, square it, you get 4. Okay, but I'm not going to add 4 to this side. What I'm going to add to this side is 3 times 4, right? Because they're distributed in. You're really adding 12 to both sides. Okay, so to finish this up, we've got y plus 5, right? The 12 and the 7 you combine equals 3. It's on the outside already. And this square is completed, so this factors to x minus 2 squared. Okay, and the last one here. Same idea, plug in y, move the 12 over, left with negative 1/2. Right, pull the negative 1/2 out. So factor in negative 1/2 out of negative 3, and you're going to have plus 6, right? 6x. Way to check that is distribute the negative 1/2 in and make sure you come back out to negative 3. All right, we're going to cut that in half and square it. Add 9 in here. But you're not actually adding 9, you're actually adding negative. Negative 9 over 2. Okay, combine these. We've got y minus 33 over 2 equals negative 1/2 x plus 3 squared. And that's it.